There's a problem I want to talk about today that I think so many of us are impacted by, and that's people pleasing. Are you familiar with that? Well, on our journey to healing, to growing as individuals, many of us bump into this habit that we suddenly aren't so fond of in ourselves anymore. Welcome. I'm Dr. Jeffrey Rutstein, and this is Wired for Wellbeing, where we explore how a nervous system perspective can transform the way you live, work, and relate. I am also joined each week by my very good friend and intrepid explorer, Steve Lessard. Hey, Steve, welcome.
Hey, Jeffrey. Hey, everybody. It's good to be here, and I'm excited about this topic. This will be an interesting conversation. So, what do you want to get into? Where do you want to go with this?
Well, I guess the first place is to describe a little bit what I'm pointing to when I'm talking to people pleasing. A lot of us understand it, but it's our tendency to want to make sure that we don't give anyone a reason to be unhappy or angry or disappointed or hurt. And so most of us have learned this in our families growing up. It may have been a role that we were assigned in the family. And as we grow, as we heal, many of us in adulthood start looking and going, why am I still doing this? Because I'm so worried about not disappointing someone else that they're beginning to notice how they're so willing to disappoint them so that they don't displease someone else. In other words, people pleasing for others means we're self-displeasing often to make sure we can accomplish that first goal.
Let's take a jump back for a second and get back to the what for a second, because I think some people might have some really clear examples of like, oh, that's people pleasing when I do that. But can you help us with some landmarks of what this might look like, or maybe even some of the more subtle ways that might not be as obvious to people that they're actually engaging in people pleasing?
So sometimes someone may come up to you and say, I really want to tell you about an event today. And you can see they're really interested in wanting to share an important story with you or something that happened. But you're aware that something's going on for you. Maybe you don't have the space in that moment to hear a story. Or perhaps you're rushing. You have to pick up somebody at a train or a bus stop, and so you don't have the time to talk. But in either case, if we're people-pleasing, we will actually have a moment of conflict. We may freeze in that moment. We may not immediately say, sorry, gotta go. Oh, well, what is that? Well, we'll try to be interested. Or I'd love to hear, can you tell me in 10 minutes? But it's really what I want people to tune to is this anxiety about this pull to respond positively or affirmatively to what the other person is asking for, to please them instead of to displease them.
I've definitely felt that tension of like, I'm about to say this, I'm going to say it, but I don't really want to say it. And that's, that was clearly me in a people-pleasing mode.
Did you end up saying it, or did you end up holding it back?
It kind of depends on where I was in my life.
Okay.
What the other situations were. I mean, I have definitely plenty of examples, I think, on both sides where I've noticed that tension internally and just, abandoned what I needed, or I was able to catch it and say like, hey, that's actually not going to work for me. So I've got examples on both sides. But are there any other, I guess, as we're just trying to get people on board with us, are there any other examples of people pleasing that might be a little bit more subtle or a little bit less clear? Is that always just sort of that internal, like, oh, I don't want that, but I'm going to say yes to it?
Well, it can also be not differentiating ourselves. Say you go out with a couple other friends, and all three other friends love the movie you just saw. And you're not so wild about it. You don't like it. Now, some of us may say I wasn't wild about it, right? But if you have strong people-pleasing energy in you, you may feel a little self-conscious about being the only one that's saying, no, this wasn't good, I don't like it. So you may not say it, or you may find yourself softening. Well, it wasn't my favorite movie. Instead of, I couldn't stand it after the first minute, I wanted to leave the whole time. We may feel that might be received less well. And what I want to point to in this is what underlies people-pleasing at some point is that we learned a strategy of safety is Not to have our desires, but to please others' desires means our relational attachment or bond will continue to be strong. If I displease you, I may threaten that bond. You may stop loving me or wanting to protect me. Or if you're a parent, you may want to kick me out of the house or not take care of me. And so it really becomes a matter of survival and safety in certain families to learn this skill. It wasn't a bad skill to learn. But most of us, as we continue to grow and mature, have a desire to become authentic, to actually be who we really are and not just saying things to be okay. And then we start becoming aware of this tension, this strong tension about wanting to say yes or to not say no when other people are liking something, to not be the wet blanket, to not be the naysayer, but to be a good team player, a good friend, and agreeable and flexible, and wanting to do all those things, which are not bad things in and of themselves. But if we do them at the cost of listening to or including our own thoughts, our own desires, our own needs in that moment, that's where people pleasing is really no longer serving us. It's making the other person's happiness much more important than ours.
So help me draw a line here, because I've had some experiences, and I imagine our viewers and listeners have as well, where you get maybe like a text message. This is coming up for me right now in text messages. This example, you get a text message and you start crafting a response, and then you delete it because there's another one, and then you keep crafting it and you delete it, and then you reword it, and like a simple yes or no turns into like a 15-minute staring at my phone trying to find the right thing to say so the other person's not mad at me, so I honor who they are. So I think the line a little bit, and maybe this is just my nervous system trying to trick me here, but the line a little bit is like, well, like you could say something and be a jerk, or you could say something a different way and maybe it will land a little bit more resonant for the individual. Or is that people pleasing in disguise?
It certainly carries some of that, right? But there's a difference between us taking the time to craft a message that we feel carries the power or the intent or clarity that we want, but at the same time being respectful of not wanting it to land unnecessarily harshly or be shaming or critical or put down someone. There's a way to uh, share a point, but not at the expense of someone else's dignity or respect, right? And so that's being conscientious. But again, it actually is amount of time, right? So if you take 15 minutes redoing this, okay, all right, that's a lot, but that's different than if someone spends 2 hours thinking about a text or an email. And that tells us that someone's really struggling either with, and in that case, it might be because they have so much anger. The more people pleasing we are, the less comfortable we are going to be ever having conflict or sharing our anger. Because if I want to please you, I kind of know that most people aren't pleased if they're brought anger or if anger is aimed at them. And so, especially in my family, anger was frowned upon. So, part of my people pleasing was to make sure I didn't express my anger at others. Now, anger is a message, right? It's part of what tells us something is going on that we're not happy with, we don't feel safe with, we don't feel trusting of. We're hurt, disappointed, feeling something's unfair, unjust. Those are usually the pillars of anger. So we may start holding back. So a question for you and for our audience is, if we're rewriting those texts or emails, are we trying to protect the person from hurt and anger, from our hurting them through our anger? Because that's where people pleasing comes in a bit too. Like, I don't need to clobber someone. I can tell them about my anger without harming them. But if I'm stuck in my people pleasing place, I'm going to be afraid that any mention that I'm annoyed or frustrated will be triggering to them, and that'll be too much. And I would have to either not say it or dumb it down. I found I was a teeny molecule irritated today or frustrated for just a second, but then it went away. Like, I'll make it be nothing so that it doesn't threaten the relationship. Right? So I guess this is bringing us towards what you were asking about before, the slightly more subtle ways that this can be seen. It's not always in the face-to-face interaction with someone.
You started to explain a little bit of like the why we do this. I'm wondering if there's more in that why that would help us understand what's going on here.
So, um, yeah, part of the why is that it doesn't feel safe for us to be authentic and direct with our needs and our wants, especially if we perceive they're going to be in conflict with the other person's needs and wants. And we become most conscious of the idea of not wanting to displease them, not wanting to anger them or disappoint or hurt their feelings. But if we look below that, almost always there's also an interwoven, deeper sense of shame, meaning that if I do something that pisses you off, you'll stop loving me. You'll think I'm a bad person. You'll think that whatever friend you thought I wasn't, and you'll cut me off. Now, that's my shame telling me that. The objective part of my mind, when I'm in regulation, I know we have a relationship, and if I get pissed off at you, I may hurt your feelings, but you're not going to cut me off or stop being my friend. I know that. But when I'm in shame, the story shame is whispering or screaming in my ear is, you're going to blow it. This is going to be a tragedy. This is going to be a loss. This is going to bring up a problem, a trauma, something that's much more wrenching than just the conflict. And so it points to this feeling or fear that something could spin out of control. And what's woven in there is this shame that there's something about me and my needs, or the way that I say the things that I need and want or believe, that is at fault for angering people or pushing them away or causing them to dislike me. So, really, what's underneath people pleasing is this desperate fear of losing relationships. And it brings us back to a time when we were children and powerless and felt like we could have nothing to say unless it was pleasant or okay. So I think that's the bigger why.
I find it interesting as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking back to people who um, I might say in a very kind way speak their mind or are very authentic or aren't afraid to give an opinion. But there are also people who do it in a very kind and compassionate way. These aren't people who are just steamrolling other people. And I find it interesting that we put these like kind of pro-social positive terms on them of like, oh, they speak their mind, or they're really authentic, or they're really themselves. Like this is we see that in others, I guess is my point. Like we see that authenticity in others and we label it in a positive way. And what I'm hearing is it's potentially these individuals are not necessarily afraid something bad's going to happen if they can share what they want to share in a kind way.
Yes, yes. In other words, these people are feeling entitled and feel strongly that they want to be able to be themselves. And they're not, at least in this moment, coming into conflict. Whereas, for example, someone who's people pleasing will find that they're maybe aware at times of the impulse to speak their truth or that they want something different. And this feeling of maybe a quickening of the heart, a little anxiety, a little fight and flight rising. And it makes most people then want to back away, go down towards shutdown and collapse. We get quiet. We withdraw saying something. We just sort of go inward rather than putting something out there that could start a fire, create a problem, create a rift in our connection. I'll just keep it to myself and get kind of sullen, but I'll keep that away from you, and I can preserve this relationship. I'll feel like crap, and that's the cost of it. But in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, but I'm preserving this relationship for safety's sake. But it's a lie if we believe we have to give up that much of ourself to have any relationship. There may be a few people we relate to in our life who have no room for anybody but themselves. You can't be anybody close to being who you are, they won't accept it. And again, we don't choose those people necessarily as friends, but sometimes we're born with them as parents or siblings. And so that's part of how we can kind of learn this. But for the most part, in healthy relationships, right, there should be room for both people to be able to express who they are. And there should be a capacity on the part of each person to allow the other person to be who they are instead of, no, I need you to be this. I need you to believe this way, or only like McDonald's and hate Burger King, or only like the color red and never the color purple. It's That's something different, right? That's needing us to be the same, to not have conflict. And that could put us right back into a place where we're feeling like we have to be people pleasing now to our partner. We can't risk the anger. If we say something they won't like or will offend them, they'll make us feel horrible, they'll shame us, or they'll threaten us with leaving us.
Jeffrey, I want to give you a chance to maybe help us understand the different environments that may make this harder. Like I'm thinking about work situations, and I'm feeling like, wow, I wonder if it's harder to set those boundaries or not people please in those environments, or if someone is, you know, dealing with PTSD and having that experience. So, can you help us map this onto maybe some more complex situations?
Yeah, I do think that situations can matter to an extent. There are some people that are so afraid of breaking the rules of people pleasing. It doesn't matter whether it's at work or school or in an intimate relationship or in a stranger relationship. They're just as constrained in all types of places. But there are others of us who may feel some degrees of freedom with better friends and less freedom with either more distant friends or acquaintances. And that may carry over to work, where there's also an expectation, especially if we are at work at in a role of some power or responsibility, um, we do have to be more cautious about the impact of our words. We have to, because of the role, we really have to follow a non-conflictual way of being with someone, not for people pleasing, but for clarity, transparency, and not overly making someone feel like crap. If you want to give them feedback to help improve their performance, you don't want to just criticize them and you want to balance it, but you want to be able to say honestly what they need to improve in, but you don't need to make it an attack. But I think that where it really comes up most often is in the relationships we live with almost every day, whether it's work or it's our social life, and it's the just human moments. And we can notice maybe more and more some of us are getting to a place where we can be honest and transparent and say what we really think. But we're all of us are going to become aware of those moments where we don't feel safe enough to do that. We feel like frozen, like I'm going to say it, I'm not. Definitely not going to say it. Nope, can't say it. And we back off. Some of us may even look at friendships as burdensome. And this can happen. This can happen also in intimate relationships. I worked with someone when he was dating a partner who was romantically involved, interested in, became mm, uh, uncontrollably agreeable. Couldn't say no if a gun was to his head, because he didn't want to give this guy any reason to not like him, to not want to continue the relationship. And so he was agreeable to everything and demurred and deferred to the other person, and and slowly over time started hating himself because he saw what he was doing. He was and when he did try, unfortunately, to uh, express himself more, his boyfriend had gotten used to the idea that mm, that he would have no opposition in the household. He could say and do what he wanted, and that it was good for both of them. It was fine. And now that his partner was beginning to speak up, he started getting irritated. He started getting more angry, started getting more reactive. My client's worst fear is that, okay, I stand up for myself, but the fact is it also was a moment of growth, because, and that's the other side of this, as scary as it feels, There is something to be gained if we can, in the right moments, choose to move towards being more direct, more transparent in what we're thinking and feeling, in what we need in the moment. And it's best to start trying this out with safe people, people who are very trustworthy in your life. And for the most part, don't do things that harm you.
So let's dive into that. How does someone start to make that move? You're talking about finding someone that's safe. So I guess the first part is recognizing maybe that internal trigger of like, I'm touching my heart because I feel it in my heart when it happens. I'm about to say yes. I want to say no. So that's clearly a decision point. But so how do we start to notice, recognize, test this out, try this, gather the data back to see how it went?
So again, there's a kind of a process that can help people. And the first thing is to notice and name. Notice that moment of, I want to say, I feel like I should say yes, but I want to say no. I feel like I need to be agreeable and go, but I have no intention or no desire to do this. And in that moment, we're silent, but we're just bouncing back and forth. If we can just stop for a moment and notice that and name that, okay, here I'm struggling. I'm struggling between what I feel pulled to say, I should say, what's expected of me to say, versus what I actually may want to say. What's my truth? What's my real feeling about this? And bouncing back and forth between them, I can, once I move a little bit into regulation, I can actually make an informed choice. Because coming just a little bit, a toe or two into regulation, gives us enough room to breathe and to decide, okay, well, is it safe for me to tell Steve right now about this? And for the most part, I can feel it'll probably be safe enough. And so I'll say, I feel and for me, by the way, the easiest way and the most compassionate way to do this is also to be transparent, which means I know you're looking forward to this. I would love to do this with you because I know how important it is. And I feel horrible, but I got this other commitment and I really don't want to try to switch that one. It was a while to set up. So you try to give voice to both sides because both sides are true. There is a part of you that wants to agree for a variety of reasons. And it could be I want to agree because I don't want you to be angry. Or it could be that I want to agree because I want to please you. It could be anywhere and there's the truth. But it's important to own the other side of it too. But there's something else I want or need or want more. Or I really don't want to go to World War I reenactments. That's not my thing, thank you. Like, to find a way to pass it up. But to do it in a moment of clarity, when we're people pleasing, it's no debate inside. It is, we shut the door immediately on whatever's going on inside of us. And it's like a, yes, sure, I'll do that. I'll dog sit for you for the next 11 years. No problem. Sure. And we say that because our nervous system is so eager to not let a situation go where it could unravel, right? Because also notice this, when we people please, it's an impulse to respond. It's not a thought out response. And by the way, for people pleasers, here's a great little hack. All you have to do is say, that's a great idea. Let me sleep on it and I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Powerful.
Right. You just allow them to hear that you've received it, but you want to think about it. No one's going to say, no, you have to decide if you want to go out to dinner right now. No, you don't. I'll let you know tomorrow. And that gives you space to take some time to come back to you and to really feel it through. Sometimes I'll do stuff because my desire is not that strong about doing A, but I know how much my dear friend is really, really, really looking forward to B. And in that moment, it's not the same as people pleasing. It feels a little bit like love. Like I'm aware of what I'm giving up, and I'm not assuming it's my job to say yes so that he's happy. It doesn't come from compliance because of fear of loss of relationship. It comes from, I want to do this for my friend because I love him. And yeah, okay, so sometimes showing that love is going to get me to do stuff, not something I'm hating, but something I may have had a couple of choices for, but I'm choosing this, I'm choosing B because my good friend wants to do that. And okay, I love them and I want to do this with them. So it's not that the opposite of people pleasing is saying no to everyone. It's that the opposite of people pleasing is keeping in mind them and you. People pleasing is really only about leaning into acting on the behavior that pleases the other.
I appreciate that distinction that the opposite isn't just saying no. I think it can easily be glossed over, that there is a nuance there. I'm wondering if you could help us maybe with navigating this from the other perspective. And you mentioned this with like dear friends or loved ones, right? These really intimate, close relationships where you see the other, or you suspect the other person is engaging in people pleasing with what you say. Maybe they're indecisive. Maybe you're reading their body language and you're like, I don't think they want to say yes to this, but they did. Or like, hey, what's for dinner? I don't know. What do you want? Like, well, you know, like, how do you help a friend or loved one in that? I mean, it feels a little bit like it might be, I was going to say, is it your responsibility, but
Yeah.
it's,
It doesn't feel like it's my responsibility if someone else is people pleasing unless it's really, really clear to me and it's about me in that moment. Well, what would you like to do? What would you like to do? Don't worry about me. And I say, no, I'm going to worry about you. I want us both to be happy. So I'll be happy to give you three top things, but I'd like to hear what your three top things are and we can decide what we want to do. Right. Like I would encourage that. If I find what I would be picking up on is someone overemphasizing what I want. And again, here's another thing. If you're a people pleaser, you'll be extremely uncomfortable if people start trying to please you. No, 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 no. I should be doing, no, no, no. What do you mean you want to go wherever I want to go for dinner? That's my role. Stop it. Where do you want to go to dinner? It's like it can get uncomfortable. It's almost like it's similar to if you have shame and someone offers you a compliment. Ooh, I can't take that. I'm sorry. I'm not that good. No. And we'll do this if someone is trying to please us too. So it will surprise us if you pick up when someone's trying to people please you. You pick up that they're feeling like their job is to make sure they do something you want to do, and you can have a discussion about that. Because I think most of the time I want to do something that me and my friend want to do, me and my wife want to do, me and our couple's friends want to do. I don't want to do just something that one of us does unless it's really special to them and we're okay with going along with it. But I'm more about trying to find win-wins in situations, whether we're both getting to do what we want or someone is getting to do what they want. And I'm very happy that they're enjoying this and I can enjoy that with them. And I can also look forward to, oh, maybe in 2 months, I'm going to drag them to this movie that they have been saying they don't want to see at all because I wasn't wild about seeing this, but they're going to come. There can be an exchange with that instead of, okay, this is just one more time when I give up my desires, my needs, my input, and become like, don't worry about me, whatever you need. Right? That's not really being in relationship. That's putting ourselves a level down below other people.
what does a life look like where we've moved beyond people pleasing? Like what does that look like for the individual?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the path is not straight lined and immediate. It is something that people work on that I still work on now. It's much, much, much better, but it still comes up, especially with people I very respect or very care about. There is this old imprint in me that I don't want to disappoint them, the old fear that I'll lose something, some of their respect. So I notice it. Sometimes I don't stop it. Sometimes I can notice it, name it, slow it down a little bit, and then have a conversation like I was talking to you. I'd like to do this. You want to do this then? Is there a way we could do it at another time? So and by the way, I can bargain when I'm a little bit more regulated. If I'm up here and I'm in fight or flight, that's the quickness of it. I'm just going, yes, yes, sure, whatever you want. That's impulsive and immediate to avoid danger. It's not thought. It's not debated. It's this impulsive, yes. And that's where we want to take power back because we're committing ourselves with that yes before we've even had a chance to like let it land and think, do I want to do this? What is this going to cost me? Is this wise for me to do? Right? We want to be able to be part of this instead of to feel like we're always the person who, because we're shame worthy, we better not create any problems. We better be always agreeable, always flexible, always saying yes.
You've brought
So,
it up.
yeah,
Stepping on your toes.
it's okay. So, what's going to happen, going back to the arc, is that we will notice we'll notice this more and more in our life. Little things with texts and emails, little stuff with a stranger, little stuff with someone who wants to talk to us at the checkout counter longer than we want to stay at the checkout counter. And do we stay to please them, or do we keep going with what we want to do? So what happens in the arc is feeling moments where you suddenly actually can feel more relaxed. Oh, I don't have to do this. I don't have to perform right now. I don't have to act interested and delay my schedule. I can be kind. I can be warm. I don't have to be cruel, but I can realize that right now I need to keep doing this. It gives us flexibility, it gives us a way to be instead of being frozen in a role. And so, on the path to shedding people pleasing is the path of it getting lighter and lighter over time, less often and less intense. And again, we're always going to encounter it. It's always there for us to work on, meaning you'll have plenty of chances to work on it. And if you miss one, don't worry. One will come up either in an hour or in a day.
Well, and where I wanted to go when I was stepping all over you is help us with the like. I said yes in an instant. I had a little bit of time. I didn't ask for the time at first, but I said yes. I took some time and I realized, oh no, I can't do this, or I don't want to do this. What's that? What's that part of the path look like for people?
So
How do
that's a
they
hard
how do they pull that back?
that's a hard one for a lot of people because it involves vulnerability and honesty. And as much as I think most people believe in that, we subscribe to that, we're afraid about being vulnerable if it means someone else could cut us off, could reject us. So what I have done, and this has happened to me, is either because I really can't, or because I thought it over and thought I really don't want to, I will reach back to the person and explain one of those two things. I'm so sorry. I know this is important. I wanted to go with this with you. I know we were going to go together, but another commitment has come up and I can't change it. I'm sorry. And it's just honest, right? And we don't have to then make the other person not angry. We don't have to try to over explain our guilt. I think a couple of apologizings is good enough. You're over apologizing if it's 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Um, you're blaming yourself too much. So part of this is just, being able to be direct. If I found that I had a day or two to think about it and I think, oh God, I'm going to hate myself if I do this, then I'll find a way to tell them, but I'm not going to tell them necessarily in such a way that would disappoint them. Like, I'd rather be drinking gasoline than go on this trip with you. No, I'm not going to say that to someone. But I would probably find a way of saying, as I thought about this, I really thought it's really not going to work with my other plans for this month or what I had actually promised to do. I'd find some way of saying it close to truthful, but without saying something like, no, I really don't want to travel with you. I just realized I said yes because I like you, but I don't like you that much. I think that creates unnecessary pain. And I'm all for being honest, but you don't have to slap somebody. We can have boundaries and we can not people please without being people harming. Right? That's not the opposite of people pleasing. And let's just give everyone a slug. That'll be good enough, right? Yeah. It's a little bit like this emphasis on people pleasing and being too nice. They can go together. Being nice in everything means we can be nice, but we can't be anything else.
Yeah, there's a phrase that comes to mind: nice versus kind.
Mm-hmm.
You can be nice or you can be kind, and there's an implication that when we're nice,
Acting it.
we're giving up a lot, we're giving away a lot. Yeah. What do you want to leave our people pleasers, healing people pleasers, healed people pleasers? What do you want to leave our friends with here today, Jeffrey?
That number one, this is totally normal. That it's normal for people to have this. Number two, it's not a problem. It's the way that you're wired. Your nervous system has become wired in relationships to try to maintain safety. And once you begin to understand that, you then can go about changing it. Again, this isn't a fault in you. This isn't something broken. It's your nervous system. And just like it was trained into your nervous system by habits, it can be trained out of your nervous system by creating new habits, like slowing down the process, checking in with yourself. Is this something I really want to do? You create a new process that's intentional and includes you. That's what a lot of people automatically do when they've never been pulled into people pleasing. They automatically go, gee, yeah, okay, I'll do that. They think about it. For people pleasers, we just impulsively say it before we even really know fully what our feelings are. So the good news is healing is totally possible. And people pleasing and shame are often interconnected. So it can be helpful to get curious about your people pleasing in terms of how you were afraid relationships will be ruptured or lost. And to be kind with yourself on this process. It's a process. It doesn't just stop. It didn't get started in a day. It won't just stop in a day. But this is a way of claiming freedom. And I love to make other people happy when I'm in the space for it and they're in the space for it and conditions allow. That's great. I get very happy about that. That's different than feeling compulsively like it's my job and duty to make sure I please others and don't ever aggravate them or disappoint them. That's something we can begin to leave behind. Healing or growth is about expanding our ability, how we show up, and the parts of ourselves that we can bring along, that I can include when I'm here speaking with you. The more of me I can bring along, the more I feel good, the more I feel well. Matter of fact, one way of feeling well-being is feeling integrated. Feeling kind of whole in ourself is usually a very pleasant feeling of well-being. So people-pleasing is an obstacle so many of us have, and it is something we can shift.
I know you have, because I've been helping you work on it, I know you have some interesting things coming up that I want to give you a chance to tell people about. And then also, you could tie in how they can leave a question for this podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks. So I have been asked for years to create a training program for therapists that integrates some of the ways that I work with trauma, including the nervous system, but also a much more embodied presence and compassion. And so I'm going to be having a very small training this spring, limited to 20 people. And you can find out more about this if you go to drjeffreyrutstein.com/links. And on that page, you'll see a link that says Professional Presence Masterclass. You can click on that, and it'll tell you a bit about the program and the application.
Yeah, Jeffrey, it's I really have learned so much about your approach and style, and I see the gold in it, and I'm really excited to support offering this to people to bring more of that out into the world. So thank you for that. And also the phone number. How do people send their questions in?
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. If you would like to leave us a voicemail, the number to call is 866-357-5156. If for some reason you can't reach that phone number, feel free to send us an email, ideally with an audio file attached. And if not, just a written email question. You can address that to hello@drjeffreyrutstein.com. Steve, thank you as always for being my friend and partner on these journeys we take.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Per normal, I've learned a ton from today's conversation with you, and I really hope our friends also did as well. And thank you for your time, and I'll catch you next week.
Thank you. Sounds great. And remember, this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not substitute ever for appropriate physical or mental health care. If you are struggling, please seek help from a qualified healthcare practitioner. Thank you. Thank you all for spending the time with us today. Until next time, bye for now.